Do you recognize the endless stream of voices echoing in your mind? Have you ever wondered who is speaking inside your head? What is that voice? First, let's take a look at this passage. Did you just hear a voice in your head reading these words? What language was it in? What was its tone? If you think about it, you'll notice something fascinating. Whenever we see a piece of text, our mind automatically reads it out loud internally. Moreover, while working or when we're not too busy, a voice often appears in our heads. That voice can be positive or negative. It might criticize you, encourage you, or tell you what to do. Sometimes, it even creates dramatic inner dialogues when you face a certain situation. Hypothetical scenarios fill your imagination, making you increasingly anxious. Especially in the stillness of the night, when you lie down to rest, a voice inside your head starts chattering away. Yet in reality, you remain silent, lying motionless in bed. If you observe objectively, you'll realize the more anxious, scared, or restless you feel, the louder that voice becomes. However, the voice in our heads that we're discussing today is not a result of any illness, but rather a normal phenomenon that everyone experiences. So why does this happen? Where do these voices come from? Who is actually talking to us? As its name suggests, the voice in our head is our inner monologue. Research on this phenomenon dates back to the 1930s. The renowned Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky initially described inner speech as follows. Inner speech is a form of communication that has been internalized, turning into an internal language, thoughts that have been converted into words but not spoken aloud. Due to the technological limitations of his time, Vygotsky was unable to explore this subject further. But how important is inner speech? Is it something worth studying in depth? Things that may seem insignificant at first often reveal astonishing value after careful analysis and research. From a management perspective, self-dialogue is an advantage. It helps us solve problems, manage time, motivate or critique ourselves. However, if inner speech becomes excessive, it can turn into a burden. People may struggle to distinguish reality clearly, leading to blurred reasoning, confusion, and even negative emotions like anxiety and depression. How does the brain change when we talk to ourselves? As we know, the cerebral cortex is divided into multiple functional regions. One of them, related to language processing, is called Broca's area. Current research shows that when people speak out loud, Broca's area is activated. If observed through functional MRI, fMRI imaging, these active regions appear as bright-colored areas. But what happens if we only talk to ourselves internally? Surprisingly, when people engage in inner speech, Broca's area is activated in the same way as when they speak aloud. In other words, inner speech functions just like spoken language, as it is closely linked to Broca's area. Key research findings. Studies have revealed that when people talk to themselves internally, their breathing patterns resemble those of actual speech. The speed of inner speech is nearly identical to spoken words. This further supports the theory that the voice in our head and our external speech share the same origin. A unique insight into stuttering. An interesting discovery is that many people who stutter in spoken language do not stutter when engaging in inner speech. This suggests that although both inner speech and spoken language activate Broca's area, the activation levels in other brain regions differ, meaning the two processes are not entirely identical. However, we can make a preliminary assumption. At the very least, both originate from within us. But does that voice define who we are? No, it is a part of you, but it is not you. It's like being so immersed in an emotional play that you forget you're just an audience member. The voice in your head works the same way. It creates narratives, but those stories are not always true. You are not your thoughts. In reality, you are the silent observer behind all the noise. But the mind tricks you into believing that you are it. That is just an illusion. When you no longer identify with that voice, you will discover a vast space where true freedom and peace begin. The perspective shift. Imagine this. You are standing on a rooftop, looking down at the city below. The streets are bustling, lights are glowing, and sounds blend into a chaotic rhythm of life. But you are not the city. You are the observer, standing above it all, separate from the flow. Thoughts work the same way. They move like cars on a busy road, carrying stories, emotions, and memories. Some move slowly, dragging old regrets. Others race ahead, filled with anxiety about the future. But you are not the cars. You don't have to chase them or be swept away by them. You are the witness. You simply stand there, quietly observing. There's no need to stop any car, no need to control the traffic. You just realize everything comes and goes. And in that moment, you find peace, because you are no longer entangled in your thoughts. The mind is not who you are. Just as the sky is not bound by passing clouds, your mind is not defined by your thoughts. Once you recognize this, you will feel a sense of lightness. Instead of getting lost in the chaos, you can step back, observe, and let things pass naturally. Thoughts have power, not because they are true, but because they easily make you believe they are you. They can create imaginary scenarios, replay the past, or paint fears about the future. But the truth is, they are just a flow, not your true essence. When you see this clearly, you understand that thoughts are simply a tool, a part of you, but not who you are. And that is when you truly become free. How to use the mind correctly. The mind is a survival tool. In the past, it protected our ancestors from danger, but in the modern world, it still keeps you in a constant state of alert, even when there's nothing to fear. Notice this. You wake up and your mind immediately starts spinning stories, pulling you away from the present moment, dragging you into the past, then pushing you into the future. But if you look back, most of what you worried about never actually happened. The mind does not distinguish between real danger and imagined fear. It reacts to everything as if it were an emergency, leaving you exhausted in a cycle of stress. But you don't have to be controlled by it. Recognize this. It is just the flow of the mind, not who you are. It may weave countless stories, but you don't have to believe them. Instead of letting your mind control you, learn to observe it. When a thought arises, don't immediately believe it to be true. Ask yourself, is this really important? The moment you pause to question it, most thoughts will naturally lose their power. Freedom comes when you stop getting lost in the stories your mind creates. Every moment becomes clearer, every breath turns into peace. You begin to live fully, without unnecessary worries, only the freedom to be yourself. Thoughts are like passing clouds. Emotions like anxiety and fear don't last on their own. It is attachment that keeps them lingering longer than necessary. But if you shift your perspective, they are nothing more than clouds passing across the sky. And the sky, the stillness within you, remains unchanged. When you realize you are not the stories your mind weaves, you will feel the lightness of letting go. This is not about giving up. It is about returning to the present, where true peace begins. You don't have to carry a heavy backpack forever. Imagine a life where your thoughts don't control you, where emotions don't weigh you down. Behind all the noise, there is always a space of silence and freedom waiting for you. Peace is not something to search for. It is already within you. This journey is not about changing who you are, but reminding you that you can always set down your burdens and walk lightly. When a thought arises, observe it without reacting. Don't agree, don't deny, and don't try to change it. Instead, ask yourself, does this thought truly reflect who I am? What is hidden behind this feeling? Then simply stay silent for a moment. Just feel your presence, beyond all the mind's stories. When you practice listening with presence, you don't just connect with the deepest parts of yourself. You also learn to live more fully in every moment. You'll realize that beneath all the noise, there has always been a truth. The truth of who you are, the truth of the peace and freedom you've been searching for all along. Negative emotions are not here to defeat you. They are visitors carrying messages. The problem arises when you don't let them go, but hold on to them for too long. It's like holding a glass of water, light at first but exhausting if you never put it down. Letting go doesn't mean indifference or suppression. It means watching emotions come and go without resistance. Don't fight them, because resistance only makes them stronger. When you don't attach to the mind's stories, negative emotions lose their power naturally. For example, when you experience failure, you might simply feel disappointed. But if your mind starts creating stories like, I never do anything right, people will look down on me, that simple disappointment turns into despair. It's not the failure itself, but the mental stories that prolong and intensify negative emotions. Letting go doesn't mean denying the past, it means refusing to let it control your present. Ask yourself, if I stop holding on to this emotion, what will happen? Will this change the past? Will this help me feel better? The answer is almost always no. Letting go is not weakness, it is inner strength. It creates space for peace and joy. When you put down the unnecessary weight, you not only free yourself, you also begin to experience life more fully. This is also one of the key lessons the Buddha spoke about on the path to enlightenment. We often fall into the illusion that we can control everything. Meticulous planning, predicting outcomes, but life doesn't move in a straight, predictable line. It's full of surprises. We try to control things because it gives us a sense of security, even if temporary. But the truth is, control doesn't last. Instead, it becomes a burden. Every time we try to grasp something beyond our reach, we tie ourselves to anxiety and disappointment. Letting go is not surrender, it's freedom. When you stop clinging to control, you realize lack of control doesn't mean losing power. It means freeing yourself from unnecessary pressure. Everything in life is constantly changing. Weather, relationships, health. You can anticipate, but you can't fully control. Uncertainty is inevitable. When you accept this, you stop resisting the flow and learn to move with it. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting from trying to manipulate outcomes to embracing and responding with flexibility. This requires courage because the mind craves control. But when you realize that happiness doesn't depend on control, you truly start to live. Releasing control brings balance. So how do you let go? 1. Recognize what you can control. Instead of trying to change external factors, focus on how you respond to them. You can't control the weather, but you can control how you prepare for it. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control your own emotions and reactions. Embrace uncertainty. Whenever you feel anxious about something beyond your control, remind yourself that uncertainty is a natural part of life. See it as an opportunity to grow rather than an obstacle. When you release the need for control, not only do you feel lighter, but you also create space for better things to come. Flexibility allows you to adapt to change without being overwhelmed by it. You stop being a victim of circumstances and instead become an observer and a participant in life. Life is not a battle to gain control. It's a journey to learn how to live in harmony with the flow. Letting go doesn't mean losing power. It means gaining a different kind of power. When you let go, you don't give up your power. Instead, you unlock a new kind of power, the power that comes from inner freedom. This is the only path to true peace. Living openly, the strength of growth. Living openly is not just about accepting life as it is. It's about having the ability to face everything that happens without building walls to keep it out. It's the courage to look at yourself honestly, to face both your fears and your joys, rather than covering them up or running away. When you close yourself off, you may protect yourself from pain, but you also shut the door to joy and deep connections. Many people mistake openness for weakness, but in reality, being open is one of the greatest signs of strength and maturity. When you allow both the good and the difficult to come and go, you're no longer someone who tries to control everything. You become someone who flows with life. This doesn't mean blindly accepting everything. It means recognizing and allowing things to exist as they are. When you live with openness, you give yourself permission to experience life fully, from the smallest joys and everyday moments to the pain you once tried to ignore. It's all part of the bigger picture. Every time you face difficulties without running from them, you expand your inner space to receive more, to understand more deeply. Openness is not just about confronting your own emotions. It's also about being fully present with others, listening without judgment, and seeing people with understanding instead of defensiveness. This is the art of connection, not by changing the external world, but by opening yourself to see it through a clearer, more authentic lens. Life never promises perfection, but openness allows you to embrace both its beauty and its challenges. When you dare to face pain instead of running from it, you don't just overcome it, you unlock a hidden strength within. This is where the true meaning of life is found, in growth and peace, despite the storms. Awakening from illusion. Everything you think about yourself, everything you believe you know, it's just an illusion. Every step on this journey is not just about understanding, It's about awakening. Awakening from the illusion that you are defined by your thoughts, emotions, or the stories your mind tells. Awakening to realize that you are so much more than all of that. Hasn't the stillness always been there, hidden beneath the endless noise of the mind? Hasn't that vast open space been forgotten, when in reality, it has always been your true home? When you see that you don't have to chase the endless stream of thoughts, you will realize that everything you've been searching for has always been within you. But this is not a journey of seeking. It is a journey of remembering. Think of it as a fire that never goes out. Even when covered by the storms of anxiety or the dust of painful memories, its light has never faded. And now, with every moment of awareness, every act of letting go, you fan that flame once more. Living with presence and freedom, life does not ask you to change anything. Life does not ask you to prove anything. Life only asks you to live with presence, to live with openness, and to live as yourself. No more struggle, no more attachment, no more running away. The truth is not about how far you've gone, but about how you have found yourself, right here, right now. The truth is, you don't need a destination, because you are the answer. Hold on to this awareness, not just as a thought, but as a way of living, moment by moment. You can always return to that silent space within, where nothing can touch you. There, you will find not just peace, but the freedom you have always deserved. You are not just the light, the stillness, the joy. You are the source of it all. And this journey is not an ending, it is the beginning of you. Live freely, because freedom has always been who you are. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you think my content is valuable, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps more people discover it. Thanks for watching, and I wish you and your family good health and peace. See you in the next video.